Hey class, once again we're back. Now today we're going to be covering, in this particular video, we're going to be covering uh, user input, or not user input, but uh, displaying things using the J option pane. Now, last class I believe we introduced us into print statements. This class we're going to be talking about same thing, displaying things on the screen, except this time it's going to be with some pop-up windows instead. So something a little more graphical. Now, as far as which one you want to use, it for the entire class, it doesn't really particularly matter. If you like the pop-ups, use the pop-ups. If you prefer the system out that print lines, then use them. Uh, doesn't really matter. You're still going to be, for the most part, doing the same thing. So whichever you prefer, use that. Now, later in like Java 2, for those that continue on, honestly, the prints are just easier to use for most of the stuff that we're going to be making. But for a good portion of the class, it doesn't really matter. If you like having little pop-up windows pop up with messages and displays, that's fine. I tend to stick with the print statements just because they're easier to deal with. Now, let's start it off. I'm simply going to make a new project, and I guess I will move it down a little bit so everybody can see. Since it's relatively short, I can go ahead and just write it up. And this is just going to be uh, pop-ups. That's what I'll call it. Make sure you save it to the right place. Get rid of that second little iteration there. Make sure Java application, you shouldn't have to change anything there. And fin. Now, if you do this and you happen to see something that says package at the top, uh, just know that you're just going to have to leave that package there. Your program will still run, it'll be fine, but the package has to be the first line if you happen to have that word up there. And that usually means you misnamed something when you were creating it. It's not really going to kill anything. I make a few comments. And again, I explained, I think, in the last video why I do that, but make a few spaces, get rid of a couple of little comments at the top, and I make these comments so it's just easier to find where these braces end. Once we get further into class, you're going to have more of these braces. We make a new little statement here. It'll have an open brace, it'll have a closed brace. And these are just very easy ways to get errors in your program, like that. And if you mark these, it makes it a lot easier to figure out, all right, that's supposed to end the main, that's supposed to end the class, and I just find it makes debugging easier. So let's move on to pop-ups and whatnot. So if I just want something to appear on the screen, I can use the shortcut and write something. And then there's a little play button at the top, or you can press F6 and you'll see the output. Now, if I want this to be in a pop-up box, I'm going to need to do one or two things first. First, I'm going to have to use something called the J option pane. Now, the way Java works, uh, it's going to look for the smallest amount of stuff whenever it's compiling and getting stuff ready to run. Java literally has, you know, thousands upon thousands of things in it. If you have time, you can go to the Java API, type in Java API, and you'll see literally everything Java can do that's built in. Thousands, tens of thousands of things. Now, if it had to look for every possible thing it can do, compiling every single time, it would take a long time to compile. So they only look for the minimal amount of things. Whenever you want to use something extra, you're going to have to do what's called an import. So at the top, we write in the word import, java dot, let's see if I remember which one it is. And as you type stuff, uh, Java dot, you'll see things pop up. And sometimes you can just select things. Sometimes you can type it in. Oh, but it's actually Java X dot. That's why I'm having trouble finding what I'm looking for. Java X dot swing dot. And I could use the dot star, which includes everything, but I'm going to specifically use the capital J, capital O. And you'll see there's option pane. You can type that out, or you can just click that, double click, and it will fill it out. And it should be yellow. Now, if you accidentally put this into a comment, then it's going to be here and it's really not going to do anything. So this needs to be at the top. Now, if you happen to have that package, it'll be like package popups. That needs to be at the top. The imports go underneath that. Hopefully you don't have that package, but if you do, it's not going to kill anything for what we're doing anyway. So this import basically tells Java that I'm going to use something called the JOption pane, and that is basically a little pop-up box that we're going to see. So I'm going to go to my main, and I have to put that in between these two braces. If I actually were to come up here and put this outside the brace, just to show you what happens, boop, instantly we get cannot find symbol class out class system. It doesn't know what any of this stuff is because this is not where that's supposed to be. Most of our code goes between these two braces, unless it's an import. Imports go at the very top. Now that I've imported this, I can come down here and type in capital J-O, option pane. It might help if I spell that right. Option pane. There we go. And I'm going to hit, and that's a capital P, capital J, capital O. The caps do matter. If I lowercase it, it's not going to know what it is. I hit dot, and this box comes up. This is one of the nice things about using an IDE, integrated development environment. It can fill things out for you. Now what I want is this, we got several show dialogues here. We're going to use the show message dialog. Now, there's several different versions of this. You'll see each one has like different things we can give it. We're going to use the lowest end here. You'll see parent component, message. We could also use the one that has a title and then the message type and do a couple other things, but I'll show you what that does a little bit later. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this one, and I can just double click it, and it'll fill some stuff out here which we don't really need. So I'm just going to erase parent component and type in null. That basically is, you're telling it who owns this window that's going to pop up. Null means nothing owns it. It's kind of its own thing. So I could basically say this class or this other thing owns this window. So if I close that, it's going to close all the little babies below it, so to speak. Now this over here, this args, I'm just going to erase and put some quotes. This is the message. Let's say pizza. There we go. This is the simplest little pop-up message here. You don't have to worry about that. That can always be null. And your message, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to display, goes over here. Now you'll see, just like with print statement, what's in the quotes is the message. I run it, and it's going to run booyah because that's what's there. And then you'll see message pizza, which is what I printed here in this little pop-up box. And I can hit OK, and my program will end. And I can do this as many times as I want. I can put, pineapple does not go on pizza. That may be controversial here, but I'm sorry. Pineapple pizza? No. I'm perfectly happy with pineapple on its own, but pineapple pizza, no. Now, I will tell you, back in the day, I think it was Pizza Inn, used to have chocolate chip pizza. It was like a crusty cookie pizza, and it was delicious. That is acceptable. Pineapple, not so much. But I'm more of a pepperoni, chicken, you know, tomato, spinach, maybe on my pizza kind of person. There you go. So whatever you put in the quotes ends up in the pop-up box. And I can do this a couple of times. Let's go ahead and try one of those other ones real quick. Option pane dot show message, and you see as I type it out, and that's a capital M, different things pop up. We're going to choose the second option here. Now this option gives you the same thing. You still have the parent component, you still have the message. So it's exactly the same. But there's two other things. I can have a title. So my little box that pops up will have a title. And message type. Let's do this if I can get it straight. So null. And we'll say, now I do have to put quotes here. If I don't put the quotes, it's going to flag me because it doesn't know what that is. So, yeah, put a quote here. And put a quote here. Where'd my thing go? There we go. Boop. Now title, this is going to be quotes too. Juicy steak. And I'm just going to leave that as a 0 so I can show you what that does here in a minute. So I can put in exclamation marks, I can put in numbers, you know, plus 8 times 9. Doesn't really matter. Now, if I'm going to add some numbers or something, I generally want to put some parentheses around it, like that. So let's take a look and see what the difference is. Now, it'll print booyah because that's the first line. Then it'll say pineapple does not go on pizza. Now notice there's nothing else there, it's just that. It's going to sit on this line here until basically that pop-up box is hit OK. When I hit OK, steak is the best. 72, 8 times 9. OK. Now, if I change this 0 to a 1, let's say. Notice it was an X, I think, a moment ago. Now it's an I. If I change it to a 2, come here, 2. Pineapple does not go on pizza. And notice this. So the number at the end actually changes the icon at the front. And I can come in here and change it to a 3. I think 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 are the only ones that are really available without it crashing. But question mark. If I try to go outside of those, I don't think 4 is 1. Ah, it dies, yeah. 0, 1, 2, 3 are the only options available for that last little icon. Now, that little icon that pops up, I could use the other show message dialog box and actually include an icon if I wanted to. I'm not going to do that, but just to show you. Show message, see. That third one you see also has an item icon. So I could give it my own custom icon if I had one readily available, which I don't, so I'm not going to bother with that. Now, as far as printing things on the screen goes, simple matter here. I can just really just copy paste that every time I need to print something in ta-da. You can type SOUT tab and it'll just fill that out. That's generally why I use it more. It's just simpler and easier to use. But if you prefer the pop-up boxes, that's what this is for. And again, it's mostly just you paste that at the top and you paste this wherever you want to print things. It works exactly the same way pretty much every single time. Option pane dot show message dialog. Capital M, capital D, capital J-O, capital P. Once you've done it once, you know, a lot of this class is also about opening up your old code and looking at stuff that you've done. I don't expect everyone to, you know, I expect you to follow along with the video, write everything, uh, but a big component of the class is being able to go back and open your old projects. So if I had a project up here that I needed to open, I'd go to File, Open Project, and I can find where that project is. If it's on my desktop or something, it's in my documents. Mine are in NetBeans projects. There we go. And you see a whole list of little coffee cups here. And I can click on this and click open. And it opens. Poof. And I'll have the code up here. I can trade through them. I can run each one and see the results. I can copy and paste if I need to. And I will say copy and paste can be a programmer's best friend or worst enemy depending on how well you do it. If I just copy that and I need to do it again, Control C, Control V, copy paste. Make whatever changes I need. Now if I paste it in the wrong place, that's where it can be a problem. So I can save a ton of time knowing how to properly copy and paste. Or you can cause yourself hours of woe if you copied and pasted it wrong. I'm going to copy this, and you copy a brace accidentally, paste it, now all of a sudden your entire program is lit up in red lines. Which again is why you should most definitely make these little comment marks here. All right, well that is just a quick little tutorial on pop-up boxes. Again, any program we make, you can use the print statement or the pop-up box, either one. Whichever you prefer, doesn't really matter. If I tell you to display something on the screen, either one of those is fine. All right, well, if you have any questions, just leave some comments below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.